12 things not to do in Cornwall. Hi everyone, we're happy to have you here. You're welcome to this channel. Our video today presents an interesting angle about Cornwall. The discussion is not just for those moving to Cornwall or those considering living in Cornwall. It's also for tourists. In fact, they're more concerned. As much as there are a lot of things to see in Cornwall, the extent to which you'll enjoy your time in this county will depend on how you're able to minimise your mistakes. While there are things to do in Cornwall, this video discusses things not to do in Cornwall. It'll help you avoid making mistakes that you can often get away with in Madrid or Rome. 12. Don't do a mass Airbnb booking. As tempting as staying in an Airbnb is, this accommodation option is putting enormous pressure on local housing. There was a time Cornwall had over 2,000 Airbnb properties, while only 61 homes were available to rent. Instead of doing a mass Airbnb booking, you're encouraged as a tourist to consider booking your stay in caravans, holiday parks, or hotels. There's a housing crisis in Cornwall. This unregulated accommodation option is pricing local people out of the market, according to an expert who deals with holidaying in Cornwall. It has to be noted, though, that Cornwall isn't the only place where tourists are likely to make this mistake. 11. Don't buy a second home. One big error committed by tourists in Cornwall is falling into the temptation to buy a second home. The allure of cheaper homes can tempt them into jumping into whatever local realtors offer. Please don't. You can, of course. Just be aware that your visit to the said second home must be more frequent. If the home remains empty and unoccupied for the majority of the year, you might have a not-so-good experience with it. You're likely to be crossed by angry locals giving vent to their frustrations via your second home. Remember that there's a bit of a housing crisis here at the moment. Therefore, anyone buying a house in Cornwall for keeps at the moment is not considered a friend, as empty properties don't help. 10. Don't drown. The sea everywhere, not just in Cornwall, can be notoriously dangerous. There are tragedies every summer, and please don't be added to the list. In Cornwall, a single tragedy is one too many. This is not to say that you can't safely do your thing at beaches in Cornwall. But the danger comes when tourists ignore signs. Cornish people aren't happy when a tourist fails to be conscious of rip tides. When next you're vacationing in this place, look at the safety flags and heed the warning from RNLI lifeguards. It can make the difference between life and death. 9. Don't treat the beaches with a lack of respect. This is one great habit everyone must imbibe. It's definitely rude and absurd for a tourist to disrespect the beaches of the town in Cornwall they're visiting. There are many ways to treat their beaches with a lack of respect, but the two important ways are reading the signs and behaving according to the tradition of the place. One most crucial way is taking your rubbish away with you, as we'll later see. Remove any barbecues and hot coals. Finally, don't leave environmentally unfriendly polystyrene materials such as bodyboards anywhere near the sea. 8. Don't drive like a tourist. Do tourists have an identifiable way of driving in Cornwall? Certainly. One thing not to do in Cornwall is drive like a tourist. It will be apparent because Cornwall's roads are notoriously narrow, bendy and winding. Tourists who are used only to driving in cities and on motorways will quickly find out that they are in for a whole new experience. The Cornish drivers have mastered their unique art of reversing. And just if you find yourself stuck behind a tractor or cow, be patient. Any emotion revealed at that moment will give you away. 7. Don't be offended if the locals call you my lover. Here in Cornwall, calling someone my lover means an entirely different thing than it does elsewhere, even in the rest of the United Kingdom. So a mistake you can make here is to feel insulted or harassed if someone addresses you as my lover. In most cases, no amorous intention is being communicated. It's simply a term of endearment, as is my bird. 6. Booking accommodation. What about this? Well, as it has been mentioned earlier, tourists are encouraged to book their stays in hotels, caravans, or holiday parks, rather than falling into the temptation to do a mass Airbnb. This cannot be overemphasized. 5. Leaving rubbish. It's a known fact that many of the Cornish beaches are secluded. Perhaps due to the error on the part of the management, they don't often have bins. Given this situation, holidaymakers are warned against leaving their rubbish, such as disposable barbecues or plastic on the beach. These can find their way into the beach and eventually end up harming the local wildlife. That is why the Cornish locals have recommended taking any rubbish away from the beach. Please handle those wastes with that in mind, so they don't end up harming the local wildlife. This has been addressed briefly earlier. However, leaving the rubbish anywhere is not a good habit, not just at the beach. 4. Coastal paths. What about coastal paths? Well, there is a lot about it. Well, it is important to avoid cycling or even running along Cornwall's popular coastal paths. Why is that? An expert warned that doing either of the two speeds up erosion. It is also incredibly dangerous. You won't love to run on eroded soil and trip straight into the body of water. Remember that you have been warned earlier to do all you can to avoid drowning. 3. Parking. Car manufacturers are by no means relenting, and everyone loves to enjoy a personal ride while on vacation. This throws up another challenge: where and how to park. It can be extremely difficult to find parking in many spots in Cornwall. You can, because of that, assume that you can leave your car anywhere. That's one thing you should not do in Cornwall, even if you see haphazard parking in some Cornish spots. The fact is that parking anywhere you like near busy beaches can block roads and access to residents' properties. They won't be happy that tourists to their place are creating some kind of inconvenience for them. And for your own good, you need to remember also that there's a thing called the tide, which occurs near a beach. Well, if you park your car on a beach in Cornwall, you may end up without a car. 2. Skipping on tips. Skipping on tips is another thing you should consciously avoid doing here because it's one of the common mistakes visitors make in Cornwall. This shouldn't be a serious challenge for tourists from the US and other parts of the UK. It's a matter of culture. However, the challenge comes when it's assumed that Cornish does need or appreciate tips. Please don't forget to tip the waiting staff. These people are probably on minimum wage, and tipping helps to promote and reward the culture of kindness and politeness. Plus, tipping is a convenient and easy way to support the local economy. By all means, don't skip on tips in Cornwall. 1. Don't be rude. This is a nice way to end this discussion of the 12 things not to do in Cornwall. Rudeness is frowned upon almost everywhere. In most parts of the world, people are becoming increasingly impatient. They're frustrated by packed pubs and restaurants, especially in the height of summer. That's why tourists are often rude to staff working in the hospitality industry. The problem has been exacerbated by the challenges confronting the world in the last couple of years, including the pandemic. While these people work their socks and try their best, your rudeness can make things even more challenging for them. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make in Cornwall is to be rude to the locals. If you've been told that drinking from a glass bottle on the beach is prohibited, there is a reason for that. Instead of scoffing at advice from locals, please endeavour to remain polite because it's often helpful. It might be a matter of life and death sometimes. Conclusively, are you surprised by any of these don'ts in Cornwall? We would love to have your comments on this or something else. Please don't forget to share this video. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.